Russian Civil War, and especially October Revolution in 1917, didn't appear from nowhere. It was a series of events that led to such consequences. Many Russian officers weren't glad of establishing democratic and republican Russia after February 1917. Many people saw the weakness of the Russian provisional government. Kerensky had to make hard decisions, but he wasn't ready for that. Meanwhile, war with Germany was still going, and not in the favor of Russia. Frontline was collapsing. Major cities had regular strikes and protests of the different political circles. The situation escalated day by day, and the authorities in Petrograd had less and less influence and control in the country. Along with that, popularity of the Bolsheviks and their organizations were growing every single day. By summer 1917, it was obvious for everyone that one day one of the major powers will make a coup and establish their own regime in Russia. The only one question was, will the Bolsheviks with the other leftist forces make a coup first? Or right forces in face of Russian officers and generals would prevent that coup? Let's look closer on the summer of 1917. Russian offensive in June 1917 has totally failed, and after the German counteroffensive, Russian forces have lost control of the eastern Galicia. In July, left anarchists and socialist revolutionaries tried to take power in Petrograd. And in the late August, Germany captured Riga, which isn't far away from Petrograd. Situation escalated to its maximum since February 1917. Kornilov knew that the time to act has finally came, because there is no time and patience has left. The country was already rotting from the inside, and its collapse was closer than ever. Oh, Kornilov, I haven't told you about him. Let's fix that. Kornilov was a general in the Russian Imperial Army, hero of the Russo-Japanese War. He was a brave man, and because of his bravery, in 1915 he got to the Austrian captivity, while he was trying to save everything that has left from his army, risking his own life. He was a high-value prisoner in Austria because of his general rank. But what do you think he did there? Right, he tried to escape imprisonment. First two attempts weren't successful, but then he managed to escape through Carpathian Mountains to Romania in 1916. After escaping imprisonment, he continued to serve in the military and command forces in the front line. In July 1917, he replaced General Brusilov from the rank of the Supreme Commander of the Russian forces. He was recommended on this post by his friend, Boris Savinkov, who then betrayed him during an attempt to take power in Russia. Kornilov was a popular figure not only among the officers. Aristocrats, intellectuals, and entrepreneurs saw in him a figure who could become a savior of Russia. He also had a political program, so people who supported him knew what are they fighting for. At first, the establishment of a dictatorship under his rule until the end of the Great War and stabilization in Russia. The second, establishment of independent local authorities and courts. The third, war until the victory over the Germans with the Allies in Entente. Fourth, creation of the organized army without any ideological officers. Fifth, all important questions such as form of rule, national questions, social questions are gonna be solved only after the meeting of Constituent Assembly after the victory in the Great War. In fact, Kornilov proposed to unite the people of Russia, calm down a little, and after the victory, to solve all the problems and questions that have accumulated over the time. He understood that it is the only one way to prevent the leftist revolution and anarchy in Russia. In September 1917, when situation got to the limit after the fall of Riga, he knew that he must act fast. Long story short, Kornilov demanded to establish the military dictatorship and at the same time he gathered his best and loyal forces to move to the Petrograd. The first day gone in the negotiations between Kerensky and Kornilov, but they didn't understand each other. On the next day, on 11th of September 1917, Kerensky fired Kornilov from his post of Supreme Commander and proclaimed him a traitor of the Motherland. If you are interested in the reaction of the Nicholas II, who was living at that time in Siberia, he was very indignant and said bitterly, "Is this Kornilov a traitor? Why Tsar? Nothing more." Also, Kornilov was supported by army, which was on the front line. But capital supported Kerensky. And who do you guess did save Kerensky's ass from the coup? Right, it was Bolsheviks. They were the only one fraction which wasn't interested in taking down the weak authorities in Petrograd. So they decided to take actions in their hands. First of all, they broke the logistic by demolishing the railroad and preparing city to fight, organizing demonstrations in the city. They also sent experienced agitators to demoralize Kornilov's forces, and they successfully did it. On 12th of September, forces have been fully demoralized and their unity gone away. The rebellious army was broken without any major battles. And on the next day, everything has ended up. On 14th of September, Kornilov was arrested with the other officers. In less than 2 months after that, Bolsheviks will take power in Petrograd and they will start their own revolution. What about Kornilov? By the end of the year, he will escape prison and will move to the southern Russia to organize new forces and fight against the Bolsheviks. Later, he will become one of the head leaders of the White Movement. He was killed in April 1918, and who knows, would Bolsheviks won if Kornilov was alive, or how would he change the whole story of the Russian Civil War if he was alive? General Kornilov was one of the brightest figures of the White Movement. He was wise and brave man who knew what's gonna happen with his motherland. His uprising was the final attempt to prevent the leftist coup in Petrograd and Russia. But disunity made it impossible. In fact, Bolsheviks were the only one united fraction among the whole Russia. Their victory in the Russian Civil War was almost a foregone conclusion. But that's a topic for the next video.
Salam alaikum alaikum salam. Échale salsa. Dale picante. Échale salsa, dale picante.